Hey guys, I'm Drew Craig with Guitar Player University. Thanks for tuning in. This is one of my favorite lessons to do with my students, but it's going to be kind of difficult because we're not in the same room, but pretend that we are. Because what we're going to be talking about today is phrasing. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. I'm going to tell you. Phrasing is a way of basically grouping musical notes together in our solos so they make more sense to the listener. A lot of times what I see with beginner players and intermediate players who are breaking into the improv thing and doing a lot of the stuff we've been talking about in these videos is we feel A, that we don't have any creativity, and B, we don't know how to make ideas, and those are the thoughts that are holding us back. So what you got to do is open up your mind to the possibility that you may have some creativity and you may be able to come up with some good ideas. So that's what we're going to talk about today. First thing about phrasing is understanding how we communicate as people. Now when we talk and we converse, there's a certain set of actions and body language and literally phrases that we come up with that basically constitute what we sound like. And if you listen to music, it's the same way. And what I mean is, let me explain that a little bit further. When we talk, there's certain characteristics that we do every single time. Like for example, when we ask a question, most cases, the phrase will go up, like, have you seen my car? You know what I mean? Was my car towed? Now that would be a statement, and you notice it didn't go up on the end, but it's like, where's my freaking car? It goes up. And that's what most questions sound like. You know what I mean? So phrases can be grouped in different ways, like questions and answers, which are more like statements. So what does this have to do with music? Music is very, very similar, especially improvisation. And one thing you may have heard of is called call and response. Call and response is when one musician plays a couple of notes and then another musician kind of replies to those notes in another manner. And usually they have some sort of continuity to each other. This idea is the same as phrasing. What we want to be able to do is learn how to ask questions with our instrument and then also answer questions with our instrument. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. So the first thing is, let me show you how to ask a question. So we're going to use our A minor pentatonic scale. Now the only rule is we're going to come up with a phrase that ends on an up, just like a question. So simple one is just this. So there's my question. You hear it kind of ended on an up. Now in answer to that question, the simplest way is just playing it backwards. So you hear the kind of tension build and then release that we get with that? There's our question. There's our answer. Very simple, very natural sounding. And there's one other element I need to talk about, and that's space. We have to breathe when we speak, right? So if we're chit-chatting the whole time, what do we sound like? Remember the Micro Machines guys trying to sell you little cars on TV? That's not natural. That's not what we want to sound like as an improviser. If we do, not many people are going to listen to us on stage. I learned that the hard way. So what we want to do is incorporate space into our solos, breathing into our solos, just like you heard. Hear all that space I was putting in there? Space is our friend. Don't feel like we have to fill up all the time with notes and notes and notes. You end up with a very disorganized sound. You're not going to sound very good. So what you want to do is ask a question, play up, and then give it an answer by playing down. Now that's just something we can set up initially to get us started. And then once you got the hang of it, you can kind of go and feel a little bit more free about it. But a lot of times we need a little push in this direction to think more musically and melodically. So that's how we can come up with questions and answers and phrasing on the guitar. So here's what I want you to do over the play-along tracks. I set up about 5 different play-along tracks that you can jam over. Each one's in a different key. So I want you to come up with some questions and answers while you're improvising over them. And what I want you to do is, if you come up with a really good idea that sounds good to you, now it doesn't matter what other people think, it's all about your ears, because we're trying to create your sound. Anytime you come up with that good idea, just repeat it a few times. And what that does is it helps us remember it. And it helps us absorb it into our style. And that way, you can recreate it later in time. So that's basic phrasing, guys. I want you to have a lot of fun playing over these play-along tracks. And I'll see you soon at GuitarPlayerUniversity.com.